Texas already has some of the strictest voting laws in the country. Now there is a Republican push for more voting restrictions in our state. Here to talk about this is Travis County GOP Chairman Matt Mackowiak and Ed Espinoza from Progress, Texas. Thank you both for being here.
Good to be here.
Sure.
Republican lawmakers are working on several bills to tighten voting laws in Texas, and proposals include reducing the hours of early voting and stopping election officials from promoting mail-in ballots to those who are eligible. Matt, what is the reason behind this?
Well, the reason is you want to ensure that all votes that are cast are legal, and you want to minimize and ideally eliminate the possibility for illegal votes to be cast and counted. We saw in the 2020 election a lot of predictions from Democrats in Texas that state laws were going to prevent people from voting. And we had record turnout, unbelievably high turnout. So those criticisms and those predictions didn't come to pass. What we also saw is a Democratic fundraiser who got appointed to be Harris County clerk, who tried to do a number of things that were illegal to try to expand the vote in a way that I think would have been fundamentally illegal with state law. And that's why I think the state attorney general's office was something like 11 for 11 on filing lawsuits against those illegal actions by the Harris County clerk. So these bills that have been filed are an intention to prevent a rogue county clerk from trying to break the law in an election year in the future.
Ed, what do you make of Republican lawmakers wanting to tighten voting laws in Texas? What is the driving factor?
I know it's a new year, but it's the same story. What you're seeing from Republicans is an ability to try to make it harder to vote in Texas. Now, Matt just said what he wanted was lawful voting. We all want lawful voting, but limiting the hours of when somebody can cast a ballot has nothing to do with whether or not casting that ballot is legal or not. So I think that a lot of the issues right now create barriers. If somebody wants to vote by mail, we're one of the few states in America that limits access to voting by mail by age. But if you have a disability, you can do it regardless of your age. But a new law proposes that if you do have a disability, you have to prove it. You have to get a note from a doctor. It's a violation of HIPAA laws. It's probably also a poll tax, but it's laws like that that simply create barriers to the ballot box. And what for? What purpose is this? None of these things are about election integrity, as they say. It's about a voter suppression. It's about making it harder to vote, and it's really just a shame.
Matt, Texas has not seen issues of widespread fraud. So outside of essentially making it more difficult for people to vote, what else can be done to restore election confidence for Republicans?
Yeah, I mean, people often make that claim that there's no evidence of voter fraud, and I certainly think there's more existence of voter fraud than there is evidence of voter fraud. The problem is that it's very hard to prove a negative, and when it comes to voter fraud, you have to prove intent. Now, there have been dozens of cases in South Texas. There was a massive case in the DFW area where a woman was fraudulently voting on behalf of, I think, 10 or 20 people. But those things are the exception, and we haven't seen these things prosecuted, broadly speaking, mostly because the resources aren't there. The Attorney General's office only has a couple people involved in voter fraud investigations. So, look, these ideas and these bills are pretty straightforward. One of them expedites the requirements for deaths to be reported to the voter registrar. Who's against that? You want more time to report a death so that you mail a ballot to a dead person? Ed wants unlimited mail balloting. I don't. Mail balloting doesn't have chain of custody.
All right,
that ballot gets passed off to other people.
We're running out of time. Ed, final thought.
Of course, nobody wants dead people voting. I mean, I don't know where Matt comes up with this stuff, but voter purging people who have names that you think are suspect, where you're profiling them, such as happened in 2019 by the Secretary of State, that is the thing that should not be allowed. But some of these bills do allow for it. It's not necessary. It's pure voter suppression, and it needs to stop.
All right, Ed, Matt, thank you both for sharing your perspectives with us tonight.
Thanks.